Hi guys, I'm not exactly sure where that last video left off, so anyways, we're going to pick up here. You have a intercept here at 0, -3, and so in between that we did the -2.5. In between the -2 and the 0 we can plug in x equals -1, y is equal to -1 times -1 minus 1, -1 plus 2, and -1 plus 3. So y is equal to -1 times -2 times 1 times 2. So y is going to be equal to your positive 4. So -1, positive 4. And then the last one you have to plug in between 0 and 1, you would have x equals 0.5. Y is equal to 0.5, 0.5 minus 1, 0.5 plus 2, and 0.5 plus 3. So y equals 0.5, -0.5, 2.5, and 3.5. So y is equal to -2.1875. So those are your 3 additional points you need to plot. So 2.5, -2.875 would be right around there. -1, positive 4, and 0.5, -2.875, so down there. If you do your sled, we can talk about that. That's an interesting one for this one. Leading coefficient, again, your leading coefficient is whatever would be in front, so that's going to be positive. X, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. If you multiply those, you'd have x to the 4th power, so you have an even degree. So even in positive, it should both be up. 1, ooh, sorry, that was pretty bad. I just lost my graph. Let's go back. All right. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, positive, they open up, up. Change direction 4 times, so that all looks good. Okay. All right. Finding the multiplicity. This goes back to that 0 concept that we had a couple problems back, and so we'll talk about what that means and what that means for our answers. So it says, let f of x equal x plus 1 quantity squared, x minus 2, x minus 3. Find the zeros of this polynomial function. Same question I have asked you before. How many factors do you think that you have? When you're looking at that, my guess is a lot of you are saying that you have 3 factors. My hope is that some of you recognize that you actually have 4 factors. This is why. X plus 1, x plus 1, x minus 2, x minus 3. That x plus 1 quantity squared means that you actually have 2 of them. So when you do this, you have x plus 1 equals 0, you have x plus 1 equals 0, you have x minus 2 equals 0, and you have x minus 3 equals 0. So x equals -1, x equals -1, x equals 2, and x equals 3. Notice that the 0, x equals -1 occurs twice. We can say that, this is where you're going to learn the new stuff, the 0 of x equals -1 has multiplicity 2. That's what they're saying, is that you have multiplicity of 2, meaning that that answer occurs twice. So you don't write it twice, you're going to put multiplicity 2 behind it, okay? This section is a little bit more confusing. We'll talk about it hopefully again when we look at our graphs. We're going to go back to those. If A is a linear multiplicity n, then the behavior of the graph at the x-intercept A of 0 will be linear if n equals 1. It will be quadratic if n equals 2, and it'll be cubic if n equals 3. So if you're talking about your intercepts, linear, right, if you have an x-intercept, it's going to just go straight through. If you have an x-intercept at 2, or an x-intercept, right, it's going to be curved, it's going to go up and down like that. And for 3, it's going to be probably much more steep, or you could have it more flat, just depends on what you're doing, so something like that, okay? So we can talk about that later, it'll make more sense, okay? Identifying the function if given the zeros. This is basically working backwards, okay? We know our answers 2, 4, and 0, remember you've got 2 of them. So take them and plug them into parentheses. X minus 2, x minus 4, x, and x. Okay? You would subtract the 2, you would subtract the 4, and you'd set those equal to 0. X times x is x squared. X minus 2, x minus 4, you have to distribute or box method. My guess is you'll distribute. So x squared minus 4x minus 2x plus 8. Don't forget you still have the x squared out in front. X squared, put your x's together, minus 6x plus 8. Now that x squared is going to get distributed. X to the 4th minus 6x cubed plus 8x squared. And so you would tell me that y equals that equation. So you basically just worked backwards. You started with the answers and you got to what is the equation that would give those answers. Okay. Example number 8, let's talk about that. It says, write the function in standard form that has zeros, x equals negative 3, multiplicity of 3. So how many factors are you going to have? 3. You have x equals negative 3, x equals negative 3, and x equals negative 3. You could tell me that x plus 3, that looks like a 5. You can tell me that x plus 3 to the 3rd power, x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3 is really what you should be doing. So go ahead and multiply those first. X squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. So x squared plus 6x plus 9. But you're not done because you still have to multiply that by x plus 3. So x cubed, 3x squared, 6x squared, 18x, 9x, and 27. So x squared, oops, that's wrong. It should be x cubed, not x squared. X cubed plus 9x squared plus 27x plus 27. And again, you should tell me that that is y equals, and that is your solution. So again, technically you started with the solutions and you wrote the equation, but you're doing your work backwards is what you're doing. Okay. That was a lot of information. There was a pretty big variety in there. Hopefully you feel like you have a pretty good handle on most of that content. So that's your entire lesson for today. I hope you are able to do well on your homework.